Hi, everybody, and welcome to Inside Admissions. Today, I'm delighted to have the folks from Willamette University up in Salem, Oregon, come to talk to us all about the highlights of their beautiful campus and their unique academics and college life. I'm Liz Laporte, founder of Porte Education Advising. Welcome, Allie, welcome, Nora, and let's go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Well, I'd be happy to start. Hello, my name is Nora, and I am an admissions counselor here at Willamette University, helping students through their admissions process in the Bay Area. And I got into admissions after having graduated from a small college in the Northeast, very small liberal arts university, and I loved my experience there. And so when I moved out to the Pacific Northwest, I knew I wanted to help students get connected to what I found was this very transformational educational model. And I wanted to be a personal touch through the admissions process because I didn't feel like I really had that. And it's been such an honor to get to be that with students. And that is a little bit about me and how I got into admissions.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's a busy time. And Allie, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Liz, for having us. We're excited to be here. My name is Allie Kvidera. I also work at Willamette University with Nora. I serve as our director of recruitment. Willamette is the third institution I've worked at in the last 16 years in admissions, but a very personal one because although I did not attend Willamette, my mom was a professor at Willamette for a number of years. And so I got to be a part of the Willamette community as a small child and kind of grow up as a member of the Willamette community. And I also grew up in Salem. So I have fond memories of coming to campus events even before my mom worked at Willamette. So I absolutely love Willamette and I'm excited to share more about what we have to offer to the students that you work with.
Great. Again, thank you so much for being here as the director. And I know it can be a stressful time, so I really appreciate you coming. Before we get into some of the details, be great to hear about sort of the mission and maybe a little bit of an overview, some statistics perhaps, how big you are, and then we can dive into some more specifics. How's that sound?
Terrific, yeah. I'll give a little bit of an overview, but I'm sure Nora will probably find some things I forgot. So Nora, feel free to chime in. But a little bit of an overview of Willamette for those of you that haven't heard of us before. We are considered a small liberal arts college located in the city of Salem, Oregon. If you've never been to Salem before, just know it is the state capital of Oregon. So if you know your capitals, you might have heard this Salem before. And we are the second largest city in the state of Oregon. Now, for Oregon standards, we're considered big with about 175,000 residents, but for most of our Californians, that probably doesn't seem very big at all. And so I really like to describe us as a very walkable downtown city. Easy to get to coffee shops, lots of great local restaurants to the west of us, walking distance, just a block or two away. From the north of us, actually, if you look right here, that is our Oregon State Capitol building. We are the closest college to any state capitol building in the entire US. It is directly across the street from us in the north. Then to the east of us a block is the Amtrak station. So that's right there. It's easy to get and lots of places there. And then directly the south of us across the street is our region's largest hospital, Salem Health. So we are kind of in the middle of lots of great opportunities for students in terms of fun things to do, places to eat, internship opportunities, which I'm sure we'll get into later. So I won't spoil too much of the fun there. But I do think our location is pretty ideal. And being a small liberal arts college, we have a lot of programs, in the social sciences, but we also do have the sciences too. We have 54 programs to be exact. And a lot of our students come in undecided. So we're a terrific option for students that want to feel like okay, I want to explore. You don't have to be locked into a major right away. In fact, we don't really want you to be. We really appreciate students that want to explore and possibly study more than one thing and things that are completely opposite of each other. You can also explore here at Willamette. Our classes are quite small, so if parents, if you went to a large university in lecture hall seating and auditoriums, you will not see that here at Willamette. Our average class size is 12, and so probably smaller than most of the students that are listening right now, classes that they have, but a big class for us at Willamette might be 30, but that would be pretty big. And so definitely specialize in the small classes, 12-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So really does reflect those one-on-one interactions that you're going to have with your professors. And in terms of our total student body size, we have just over 1,500 undergrads and a little over 500 graduate students. So our total student population is just over 2,000 students on our campus.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about the unique sort of academic programs that you have. I've read a little bit about it, and it sounds like you've got some fantastic opportunities for students.
Yeah. Or you want to talk about a couple of them?
Sure. I could talk about a couple of them. So like Allie mentioned, we have programs across all the disciplines you can think of. So we have students who are really excited about business, who are excited about chemistry, who are excited about theater. We have a really strong theater program, and strong programs across the board as well. And I think something that makes our programs really distinctive, a lot of them are experiential, right? So you're getting outside the classroom, learning how to do things hands-on. For example, with our psychology and economics programs, you have guaranteed internships, right? So you are getting that experience beyond just, I'm sitting in a classroom and learning things. Like, I'm using my hands, I'm speaking to people, and I am learning really, really important things that help me stand out from, my peers when I graduate college. So I think those are some of the special things about a lot of our programs. Something else that I want to call attention to that I have found really unique, we offer dual degree programs and graduate programs at Willamette. So a student who maybe is feeling excited about something like business, law, data science, computer science, art. All of these are dual degree programs that we have at Willamette where students can get 2 degrees in less time. So for example, data science and computer science, you walk away 4 years with 2 degrees. I wish that I had known about these types of opportunities when I was applying to college. But those are some things that I think are quite unique to Willamette. And I'll just add one more tiny little thing. We have pre-professional programs. So for example, if you have dreams of becoming a doctor one day, power to you, and you can do that at a liberal arts school like Willamette. You might think, okay, I have to go to a big school, but you can have all of the benefits of a small school, that really close connection with your professors, opportunities to do research, internships, and you're still getting that benefit, but getting everything you need met so that you can go to medical school. You can become a forester, an engineer. These are all routes that Willamette students have taken through our programs and then gone on, and they've shown and done their best and really, really made an impact. So
neat. I wonder, Allie, if you could give us some examples of students who may have taken advantage or benefited from the hospital there and the state capitol there. It sounds like you have it all right, across the street. So that sounds fantastic. Would love to hear some examples of students who are out there.
Love that. So some of the students I can think of, we have a student, she graduated a number of years ago, but her name is Sherry. And she came to Willamette. She was really interested in music and she was interested in healthcare as well. So she kind of wanted to combine those two. So she did. She was a classical trained pianist and played the piano at Willamette in ensemble, studied music, but also was in our pre-health professions that Nora talked about, for students that are interested in in healthcare. And so she actually did an internship over at Salem Health, which is across the street I had mentioned earlier. And then ultimately through the one-on-one advising that she was able to get at Willamette, through her academic advisor, and then also through our career development services office here at Willamette, she ended up going to medical school, and she went to OHSU. She is now in residency at Tulane University, and will be a full-fledged doctor here soon, practicing on her own, which is pretty cool. So that's a student from a couple years ago that graduated from Willamette. And we have lots of students every year that go on to medical school and do that. But that is an example of a student that many of us in the office know personally. His name's Sherry. And lots of students who, every year go and do internships at the state capitol. One of our majors, it's called politics, policy, law, and ethics. So a lot of schools, they call it political science, but ours has a little bit more to it, which is why we call it, because some students will want to go there and they know they want to go into, politics. But we have other students that know they want to go on to law school. And so that's a terrific route for them to study in that program. But interning at the state capitol is very normal. In any given year, about 80% of the students who are interning at the state capitol in Oregon are Willamette University students. So most of the time they're Willamette students that you're meeting there. And two students specifically, Amanda and Will, they started off, they're both in our politics, policy, law, and ethics major right now at Willamette. And they started, their first internship was at the Oregon State Capitol, and they did such a great job there that actually this last summer they went to Washington, D.C. and got an intern there in D.C. So that was an internship connection that they had through Willamette, but also they got their kind of first step at that just walking across the street. So those are ones I can think of specifically, but I also think like environmental science students have a unique experience at Willamette. It is one of our more popular programs, which coming to Oregon for environmental science to begin with is like out of this world. But then we own our own 305-acre forest about 15 minutes from campus called Xena Forest, Zena. So you can Google it and look it up. And our students will go up there and do research as a part of their class. But it's also just a beautiful place that all students, faculty, and staff have access to if they just want to go and get some fresh air. And we put on, different open houses out there so students can take their parents out there to see it during family weekend. So lots of opportunities. The Xena Farming Club will actually have a farm out there where they grow organic produce and then bring it to campus and give all that produce out to students for free. So those are just a few of the examples here, like locally in Salem, that students got internships that then took them farther and outside of Salem.
Fantastic. It reminds me of the small campus that I went to as an undergrad, and it seemed like the options were limitless, and you can kind of cut through the bureaucracy and go straight into talking to people about what's available. It just sounds so fantastic. Let's turn a little bit to campus life. It sounds like the kinds of kids who come are interested in the environment and interested in becoming engaged. Maybe talk a little bit about the residential opportunities, some clubs, things that students do for fun.
Yeah. How about I'll talk a little bit about kind of our residential experience on campus, and then I'll let Nora talk about some of the clubs and organizations, because Nora actually knows a lot about the clubs on campus because she's super fun and does research on that. But in terms of housing, we are very much a residential campus. So even though we're in downtown Salem, all of our first and second year students will live on campus in our residence halls that are right there. And then we do have the opportunity for all of our, juniors and seniors to live on campus as well. It's not required your junior and senior year, but it is available. And I think that is such a nice thing to know going into college, that you have housing available for 4 years, because that is not the norm. And I advise families, when you are looking at colleges, if you're concerned at all about where your student might live for 4 years, it's a good question to ask colleges, because even when I went to college over 20 years ago, it was pretty normal to say, oh, if I want to live on a college campus my junior year, I could, but that is not the case anymore. So I love that at Willamette, we make it very stress-free and families knowing that there is housing here for them. Um, so all of our first and second year students live on campus, and then third and fourth year, you have the option to live on campus or off campus. There is lots of available housing here in Salem, and it is quite affordable compared to lots of other parts of the country. And so students that are looking maybe to gain some independence as they get older, sharing an apartment or a house with a couple friends, that can be an opportunity that is feasible financially for a lot of students here locally. We are a very walking friendly campus, so it's very easy to walk around. We're a good sized campus, but it's not so far that you feel like you have to have a bike or a longboard. You can, and some students do, but it feels like it's very walkable and not as much necessary unless students maybe live off campus and want to, ride their bike onto campus. Public transit is very close by as well. I mentioned the Amtrak station, but then also our kind of large bus station in Salem is a couple blocks away in downtown Salem. So that's easy for transportation too. But I would say students come to Willamette. One of the reasons is because they like that community environment we have here. I think some students get a little scared at first when we tell them, we have 2,000 total students, and they may think my high school is bigger than that. And while that might be true and valid, and I get it, college feels so much different than high school. A lot of times in high school, you're in like one big academic building or a couple of them, and you've known the people forever. But in college, you're coming into a new environment where you don't know most of the people. Our campuses, has lots of different buildings and lots of different residence halls. And so you're always meeting new people. I would challenge someone to try to say that they know everyone at Willamette, and that would never happen. And so I think, students just have to think of it not in the lens they're used to in high school, but think of it as like being on a spread out college campus, you're always meeting new people.
That sounds great. And we're looking forward to hearing about some clubs and things that kids can do, outside the classroom. And we'd love to hear what your thoughts are, Nora.
Yes, absolutely. So Willamette students are very involved in things, about at least 2 to 3 things on average, but they have over 90 different clubs and organizations to choose from. Some really popular ones are the outdoor program. They lead at least 3 to 4 programs a month. So students are going out to the mountains, which are an hour away, to go skiing. Maybe they're going on a hike at the coast, also an hour away. That's like the benefit of living in the Willamette Valley. Everything is just very accessible. So the outdoor program is really big, really poppin'. And then of course the dance company as well. That is like rivaling the size of the outdoor program now. And that is all student run dance performances they put on throughout the year. Dances of different cultural backgrounds, different styles, and they're all student choreographed too. And I had the privilege of getting to perform in the staff dance, and it was one of the most positive and uplifting experiences I've ever had. Like, I think the entire school came out to these performances and was just like cheering each other on, which was really so beautiful to get to be a part of and to see a college community doing that for one another. We have different multicultural groups, spiritual groups. We have fraternities and sororities on campus as well. It's not a really big part of campus. There's no on-campus housing for them, but that's something that if you're excited about community service, philanthropy, those types of things, that could be a great option for you. We are also a Division III school. So we have student athletes on campus. About 25% of our student body are student athletes. And I believe, Allie, you might have to correct me. I think we have 19 teams.
That sounds right. I'd have to like name off all of them, but there is a wide variety of sports and ones that you don't find everywhere. Like we have a women's triathlon team and they're actually phenomenal. And we have like a women's lacrosse team. You don't see that everywhere. Yeah.
Yep. That is great. The number is escaping me, but we have a really wide range. Also, performing arts is really big on campus. Beyond just the dance company, we have both department-led theater productions throughout the year and student-run ones. And of course, a cappella groups. And I'll just share one example of a student and I love this story so much. He was a student who was on the football team, so he was a student athlete. And during his time in high school, he had always wanted to be in an a cappella group. And he just felt, for whatever reason, based on, his high school and where he was at, he didn't really feel like he had that full capacity to do it, or people wouldn't be like as excited for him as he maybe wanted them to be. And so he gets to Willamette and he tells his football friends about wanting to be on the a cappella team. And everyone on this football team is like, you should do it. You have to go sign up right now. He auditions, he gets in, he performs, the entire football team comes out to cheer him on. And then, of course, when he is having his football events, everyone from the a cappella group is out there as well. They're singing in harmony. It's amazing. But I love this example because I think that's the type of culture you would find at Willamette. You do find that at Willamette, right? This culture of inclusion, belonging, people who are encouraging one another to try the things that they like deep down always wanted to, but maybe didn't feel like they could, right? So to have that, again, to have that in a college experience is just so positive. This feeling that you can do whatever it is that your heart desires without fear of judgment, knowing full well that you're going to make friends along the way. That's just the kind of place that Willamette is.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the nuts and bolts, I guess you could say. Everybody's concerned with the financial aid and that's that whole ball of wax. And I'm wondering if you can shed some light on that for us.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think is really refreshing to work at Willamette, having worked at a couple other colleges before Willamette, is that Willamette really does put their money, they budget to have their money really go back to students. And you see that reflected in the financial aid that students are receiving from Willamette in Willamette money, Everyone, of course, at all colleges, for the most part, has access to money through the FAFSA, but we go beyond that. And so whether that's merit scholarships, which when students apply for admission, they are automatically considered for those merit scholarships. So there's not an extra step they have to do. They don't have to opt into them or do an extra application. We kind of assume you're applying to college, you would like some money. Yeah, I think that's a good assumption, right, Liz? And then we also have what are called competitive scholarships. And competitive scholarships, they're called that because they're more competitive. There's more of a limited number of them that can go to students. So examples of these would be like our STEM scholarship for students that are interested in, our STEM related programs, our theater scholarship that is specifically for students who want to major in theater. We have a public health scholarship for students interested in public health. We have a scholarship that's geared for students who want to study environmental science. We have a scholarship for students that are interested in being on the debate team, students that are interested in art, music, they can audition for that. So there's all these different competitive scholarships that you can apply for in addition. So that does require an additional application, but it's short. We don't make it long. And you can stack that on top of the merit scholarship. And then we can take into account the FAFSA and see what you get with that. And then also for students that want to apply early, so we offer early action and early decision with a November 1 deadline. They can receive an additional $1,000 scholarship if they're admitted for applying early. And so there are just different ways that you can really stack these scholarships. We're really not trying to put barriers out there. We're not giving one-time scholarships out. Scholarships that we give to students, we want them to have them all 4 years. And we make that very clear because we want students to feel like, college can be affordable. And it is kind of alarming at times when you're looking at the rising costs of colleges and, how am I going to do it? But you have to remember that there's colleges like Willamette out there where, our total cost of attendance might look like a lot, right? Like our total cost of attendance is around $70,000 a year. But what I can tell you is not one student at Willamette actually pays that. And so because of that, that cost reduces a lot. And oftentimes we end up being more affordable than a student's local state public university. And I know that's hard for people to think, well, how do you reduce it that much from $70,000 to less than that? But again, through the different ways we can stack things and for rewarding students for their hard work in high school, we do have that funding available, and we're a very financially stable school. And we have a really healthy endowment and really generous alumni. I don't think I mentioned earlier, but we're the oldest college west of the Mississippi River. So we've been around since 1842, before California was even a state, before Oregon was a state. And so because of that, we have so many alumni that want to give back to the university, and their money is going directly to student scholarships. Lots of colleges nowadays are putting their money into renovations and, making their football field beautiful and all these other things that oftentimes aren't impacting students in ways that they would hope, or they're not getting to reap the benefits of that because it's going for other people at the university. But Willamette really does focus their money and finances back to students through financial aid and scholarships.
So Allie, I often get this question from my parents, the students that I'm advising, which is, do we really have to fill out the FAFSA? Do we really have to fill out the FAFSA? And my answer is, yes, you do. If you want to be, on that radar, maybe you could just tell us a little bit more about the importance of the FAFSA, if you would.
Well, it's like music to my ears to hear you say that you do say, yes, you still should. Yeah, we get questions like that all the time, like, no, I don't think we're going to do that. That's going to take me too much time, or we're not going to get anything. And, my response is always, you don't know unless you submit it. And it's free. It's a free, the free application for federal student aid. And everyone actually does get something. So if they say they're not going to get anything, now that might be in the form of a loan, but that is a form of financial aid, right? A lot of people, you want the scholarships are the free money, right? And the grants are the free money. But loans can be helpful. Student loans, you can only take up to $5,500 a year. And those are fixed loans that have a lower interest rate than, private loans out there. Your student could get work study through that. And so there are things that every family could potentially benefit from submitting the FAFSA. And we think so highly of the FAFSA and the importance of it that we actually reach out to any family that hasn't submitted the FAFSA after the student's been admitted to say, like, hey, are you sure? Because you might get something, you never know, or you might at least get that loan that you might want to utilize down the road. But the other way I think of it, and this is only because I had a student experience this at my last institution, and I'm gonna say it's a little morbid, but I'm gonna bring it up because it actually sheds light to, I think, a little bit of the importance for parents to help set their students up in case something were to happen to them. And that is that I had a student a number of years ago, and they didn't want to submit the FAFSA. They did. And they, said we didn't get anything. They did. They got loans. They chose not to take them out at the beginning of the year because they just, weren't comfortable with that. They didn't want to do it. However, partway during the school year, this young woman, her parents passed away in a car accident, tragically. And she, obviously they were working through the estate of the family and figuring out how she was going to pay her next semester's bill. And luckily, financial aid office worked with her and, took out some emergency loans, was able to get those student loans going because her parents had done that, even though they hadn't taken them out. And that was really, helped her in that little bit of a time where she didn't know what she was going to do, and things ended up getting worked out with the estate and stuff. But that family actually really set her up from a liability, from an insurance standpoint, of having that FAFSA on file allowed that financial aid office to immediately assist her. They had everything they needed on record. They had the social security numbers. They could immediately go into emergency assistance. And had that not have happened, yes, the financial aid office would have been able to kind of work, but it was so much easier because that FAFSA was on file. Not that I think that's going to happen to many people, nor do I want it to happen to people, but that is an experience I've seen where, those parents, while they were hesitant to do it, they had no idea that that would ultimately end up really helping that student, 6 months later.
Great. Thank you for emphasizing that. You know, I have a senior in high school right now, and so I did the FAFSA myself, and it is pretty much a piece of cake. You just have to get your few documents, your ducks in a row, and it's really not it's not a drag as one would think. Let's talk a little bit more about the admission process. I know that students out there and families are really focused on, what are they looking for? What do I need to write about? What should I write about? What do they want me to say? And this is a conversation I have, often with my students, which is really, you want to say what you are all about. But I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about any specific qualities, experiences that may align with a university's, community or mission.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Willamette, we are a holistic admissions school. So students may have heard that before, but if you haven't, it essentially means that we're looking at your whole application. And so we're not just a numbers school. We're not just looking at your GPA and your grades and your test scores, which we are fully test optional for. But we really do care about the student, and we want students who want to be a part of our vibrant community. And so when we're reading an application, we want students that we think, oh yeah, they're going to get involved in this, or they're going to be open to exploring new things. Or, also we really want students who are going to be academically prepared. So while it's not all about, the GPA and grades, and, we are looking at what classes have you taken? Have you challenged yourself? Are there particular classes that you're stronger in than others? And, are you academically prepared for what you're about to, get into here at Willamette, which we do have rigorous classes, and being a school where you're in smaller classes, you do have to come prepared and ready for those classes and those class discussions. And so that kind of combination of like community fit, but also academic fit is looked at when we're reviewing our applications. And a lot of people can say, well, how do you know if they're going to be a good community fit? And I would say, a lot of it, in most of the applications we read, we see lots of positive attributes to students where we can say, oh yeah, I can see them being a part of this club, or being someone who's going to be really vocal in that classroom discussion. And so we're always kind of trying to pull those things out of their application, and we can see that in oftentimes their writing, so your essay or personal statement, and learning more about you through that, and your involvement in activities. We love to see students that are involved, and it's not about the number of things you're involved in. It's really that you're showing that you have passions outside of attending class. Because Willamette students, like Nora said earlier, they're usually involved in 2 to 3 different activities at one time, and they're balancing that with going to classes. And so we're definitely looking at that. We also look at letters of recommendation. We only require 1 from a counselor. And those are fun because high schoolers, it can be kind of hard for them to brag about themselves. But adults are really good about bragging about them. And so we can, pull some of those tidbits about them as well. But I think, if you really want to make your application stand out, really reflect on what you've done in high school, and make sure you're putting that on your activities list. You can start that early. So if you don't have a resume, kind of drafting that earlier and just kind of adding to it. You may think like, oh, but I only volunteered at that summer camp for 1 week, the summer of my junior year. Only 1 week? Like, no, you are giving time away from your summer to do that volunteer work. You should put that on your application. Our motto at Willamette is not unto ourselves alone. Alone are we born. And the idea behind that is that you're not alone. You're a part of a community. You're giving back to people. And so we love for students to kind of exude that motto, or maybe they haven't had the opportunity to in high school, but we can see it that they want to do that in college.
It's just really, really great to hear about sort of an embrace of students as they come to the campus, and everybody sort of welcoming them into the fold. I wonder, maybe Nora, you could you're so close to the age of going to college. I wonder if you could, any advice that you would give to a prospective student when they're trying to decide, which university is right for them. Do you have some words of wisdom there?
Yeah, I think I do. My first regret, I didn't visit college campuses, and I chose where I went solely based on a website, which is an insane decision to make, just because the website looked good. So William has a beautiful website, but that being said, visiting a college campus, figuring out, are there events I can go to? Is there, some sort of program if going there is going to be kind of difficult financially? Is there a program that I can get money to be reimbursed to come visit campus? That is something that I really wish that I had kind of looked into, was visiting college campuses. Another thing that I kind of got bogged down in when I was looking at colleges, I was uncertain what I wanted to major in. Theater or environmental science? Theater, environmental, what is it? Philosophy? I don't know. I have no idea. And so I got so bogged down in that I stopped looking at some of the more, I don't want to say more important, I want to say different aspects of a college. I didn't look at their location. How close was I to things? I didn't have a car. I borrowed my sister's car. Were things accessible to me? Was there transit? All of these different factors. Didn't look at location. Didn't look at resources. Like, how am I going to be supported? What types of career advising are available to me, right? Didn't look at that. I didn't look at what types of clubs and are people doing. Is there a theater program that I could still be involved in, even if it's not my major, right? So just thinking about what is really important to me other than just the major, because I think it's so great if you know right now exactly what you want to do. Power to you. And if you don't know, power to you as well. You're going to be fine in college. And if you think maybe you one day realize you don't freak out. It's totally not a big deal. You have time, especially at Willamette, where you don't have to declare a major till the end of your second year, which is such a beautiful thing. There's so much encouragement for students to take time to explore, to try things that they never thought they would do before. Data science. Whoa, what's that, right? So I think those are some of the things that I wish I had focused on during my college process, which wasn't that long ago. But I do feel like now at this point, working in higher ed, I feel like I can talk more objectively about it.
That's so great. It is difficult to, get to know a campus just by its website. You're so right, Nora. I mean, I'm looking at sites, all the time, which is really why I love having these conversations with admissions staff and folks like you two, to really get a sense of, the kind of people who thrive there, and the opportunities, and even a sense of the balance between, the academic world or life, and then sort of activities and fun things. So we're going to kind of wrap it up here, and I'm wondering if there's anything that you'd like to add. Have I missed something, or are there questions that you would wish I had asked you, or questions perhaps that that parents typically will ask? If so, that we'd love to hear that as well.
That's good. I think, I think we always get a lot of questions about location, which I talked about location, especially if someone hasn't visited before, and like proximity to an airport, or like, how do we get there? How does this work? Because about 3/4 of our students are from outside of the state of Oregon. And so we do have a very like global university, in terms of like, if you come to Willamette, you're not going to be like the lone kid from out of state. You're actually the majority, which is nice, because our students do not go home on the weekends. You really are there, except for like, winter break or summer break. But actually, you can be here if you want to too. So that there are those options. But I think it's important to know that there are lots of ways to travel to Salem. I'd say most common from the Bay Area. Students will fly here, fly into Portland. It's an easy, generally inexpensive flight from Portland International Airport. There's different ways that you can get to Salem. It's about an hour south, right off of I-5. So very, easily accessible off of a freeway, but we're not in the middle of nowhere. But there's always Uber or Lyft if you want to do a longer ride. But during break periods, Willamette actually has a shuttle that they contract, so students can sign up in advance to go on that shuttle for transportation and go with their peers. And then there's also a shuttle service in Salem called the Groom Shuttle, and you just kind of pay a flat rate and they'll take you to and from the airport. And that's really easy. I say for students, who don't want to bring a car, that's what I would advise. You can bring a car to campus, absolutely. We don't have any restrictions against that. You can have a car all 4 years. Do you need one? Not really. And because of our location, we are, everything's so walking distance, but we have plenty of parking lots on campus to keep your car in. It's very affordable to park your car here. It's about $200 a year, which if you're looking at lots of colleges, you're going to see it get into the thousands to park your car. So it is affordable. You don't need a car. I think sometimes students in there, when they're an upperclassman and maybe they want to do an internship that is, in a different part of Salem and they don't want to do public transportation. Yeah, like maybe you do want to bring a car, but it is still not even necessary then.
Great. So my last question is, so did the two of you or do both of you come down to, the East Bay and San Francisco? Are there college fairs that you will be appearing? And I'd love to, publicize those, after the webinar, of course, also. But if there's something that students should be looking toward, we'd love to hear that too.
So Nora is actually your admission counselor for everyone who's watching that. If you're from the Bay Area, if you're tuning in because you found this video and you're from somewhere else, you can actually go to our website and look up your admissions counselor. Nora still might be your admissions counselor, but it also we have a large staff of people who do admissions counseling in our office. So might be someone else. And you can also see where we're going to be visiting. We go to lots of college fairs. We do lots of case study events. We visit schools. We do admissions interviews when we're traveling. We'll meet with you one-on-one. And so there's lots of ways you can connect with us without even coming to campus. And all of that we keep updated on our website. We do really heavy travel, particularly in the Bay Area in the fall, but we also do some in the spring. And I'm going to put in one plug, Liz, for any juniors and seniors out there that are thinking, okay, I want to go visit this college up in Salem called Willamette. Great. We can actually reimburse you for your travel expenses up to $400. It's called our travel voucher. And just ask us about it. You can call our office, you can email us. As long as you submit your receipts within 3 weeks, so precisely within 21 days of visiting, we can get you reimbursed for up to $400, which actually can cover quite a bit to come up and really see what we were just talking about.
Great. Wow. My eyebrows are raised as, wow, that's, I've never heard that. And I think that's really a demonstration of your inclusiveness, your values, your, engagement with folks from all over the United States. So I love to hear that. Nora, Allie, thanks again so much for joining me. And I look forward to supporting your programs in any way that I can. And until next time, thank you all for coming on to this to the video, and we'll see you next time.